السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفاه وبعد. My dear viewers, I would like to welcome you to another edition of your program Fatawa. The first question we have in today's episode is from somebody who says that my sister wants to invest some money with me. She is working and she's saving some money, and she would like to invest it with me in a project that I have started. But she wants me to promise her that in case that there is a profit, I will give her her share, but in case that there is a loss, I guarantee that I will give her her capital sum back. So we want to find out whether this is permissible or not. In this case, this is similar to depositing your money in the bank, where the bank guarantees your capital sum and gives you a fixed interest or an interest which has a fixed interest rate. In this case, this is not permissible. And murabaha, if she wants to invest her money with you in your company, in your trade, or in your business, that would be based on al-murabaha, which is sharing the profit as well as the loss. So if you invest 10 grand and your share of the profit is 30% based on your agreement, for instance, after paying the cost and running the project, and perhaps the person who's operating the project will get an extra share, you guys agreed that you will get 30% of the net profit. That means you also take the responsibility of any loss equivalent to the percentage of the profit, which will be 30% as well. So if there is a loss, you would encounter 30% of the loss, not more. And if there is a profit, you get 30% of the profit. But for the company owner or one of the partners to guarantee that the capital sum of the rest of the investors will not be touched and it will not be affected by any loss, then this is a form of riba. It is simply like giving a loan and taking an interest on that. And the fiqhi rule says in this regard, كل قرض جر نفعا فهو riba. That's entirely different than al-murabaha, which is permissible. There is also something worth of mentioning here, which is in case that I lent money to somebody and we never stipulated any condition that he has to pay extra upon settling the payment or paying the debt. At the time of payment, if I give him a gift, if I give him extra, like I borrowed 10,000, and at the time of making the payment, I paid him 11,000. The lender, the debtor, never expected me to pay it extra. We never talked about it, and there was no previous agreement. Is it permissible for the lender, the creditor, to take the extra? It is permissible. What is not permissible is to make an agreement or that the creditor expects to get something extra more than what he paid. But if it was in the form of a gift, token of appreciation without any previous agreement, it is permissible. So now a brother who has a company or investment and his sisters have some money which they have collected maybe from the inheritance. He's investing the money for them and he gives each one of them a share of the profit equal to a certain percentage. So they get 30% as we suggested earlier. Then the company encountered any loss. The rest of their partners do not have any right to demand from the person who's running the business to pay them their exact capital sum without any, encountering any loss, because the company have lost or lost a certain amount. So all of them will share according to their percentage of the profit. But if the person, the brother for instance, decided, Alhamdulillah, I'm well off and it will not affect me, so he decided to give them back their money, it's a gift from him, as long as it was not stipulated as a condition before the agreement or during the contract. The following question is it permissible for a wife to donate a big portion of her wealth, which she have earned through working or through inheritance or through receiving the dowry from her husband, is it permissible for her to pay a big chunk of this money to her brothers and sisters who are still young in various levels of education, and provided her parents cannot afford to take care of her brothers and sisters without any help? Does she have to seek the permission of her husband? What if he says no and he does not allow her? Any money that a woman possesses is her property, and no one has the right to put any pressure on her, let's phrase it this way, as what to do with it. As long as she is dispensing or spending this money, a part of it, most of it, a little bit of it, or entirely in lawful means, including dowry, personal earning, and inheritance. Maybe the dowry, the husband thinks that I paid you the dowry, so at least I have a say as what to do with it. I would like to tell you that in Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 4, Allah the Almighty says, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً. That's her right. When you give your bride the dowry, whether it's a moderate amount or it's a huge amount in millions, you guys agreed to that and you give her that dowry with goodwill. The dowry is wajib, it's a must. You don't turn around and you ask her back to give it to you or a part of it, especially if you're not in need. But listen to this. Then Allah the Almighty said, فَإِن طِبْنَ لَكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ مِّنْهُ نَفْسًا فَكُلُوهُ هَنِيئًا مَرِيئًا. So after you give the dowry to your wife, she decided, I don't need that much. Take half of it. Take 1/3 of it. Take it all. I'm not in need for it. With a goodwill, without putting any pressure on her. Sometimes the wife, later on, the husband bought her a lot of jewelry. 50,000, 90,000, 150,000 worth of jewelry. And now she's seeing her husband's business is going down. Or if he's an employee, he's laid off. He doesn't have any money and he started borrowing from others. So she says, honey, take this from me. By the end, you give it to me as a gift. The money, the gold, the dowry is 100% her possession. And so she never, whenever she decides to give it to her husband, it's a gift. It can be a form of charity. It is permissible, and she will be rewarded for that, as if she intended to give it to him as a charity. She can give it to him as a loan. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu anhu, was a great companion, but he was kind of poor, while his wife Zainab was wealthy. So she wanted to give him her due zakah in a charity. But she decided to ask the Prophet ﷺ whether it's permissible or not, because they are husband and wife. Would it be permissible to pay my husband my zakah? She went to the Prophet ﷺ and she asked Anas ibn Malik to pass on the question to him. And she said, please do not tell him that I'm Zainab, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's wife, because she doesn't want to hurt Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's feeling. He was so close to the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, once he received the question, he said, yes, it is permissible. There was another woman who was asking the same question. It is permissible. But the other way around, can a man pay his zakah due to his wife or to his children? No, sir. Because supporting them financially is your responsibility. It's like your own self. Eating and drinking for your own self. You don't take the zakah in order to buy food for yourself or clothes for yourself. You give it to those who are in need. But since the wife is not financially responsible for providing the family, now if she notices that her husband is in a financial dilemma, and if he is broke and he's eligible for zakah, and she gives him out of her zakah due, that is permissible. What if she gives him this money as a loan? It is permissible. What if she gives him this money as a voluntary charity? It is permissible, and she will receive the reward double. Because the Prophet ﷺ once was asked about giving in a charity to al-qareeb, to the relative. He said, well, given in a charity, as-sadaqatu ala al-ba'id, given in a charity to somebody who's not related to you, you receive the reward for as-sadaqah, or given in a charity. Al-hasanatu bi'ashri amthaliha ila 700 ضعف. Each good deed, each dollar, dinar, dirham, euro, you get 10 times more, up to 700 times, according to what Allah the Almighty said in Surah Al-Baqarah once and in Surah Al-An'am. But if you give it to somebody who is related to you, then you shall receive double reward. The reward for upholding the ties of your kinship and the reward for giving in charity. If the wife notices that her parents, her uncles and aunts, nephews and nieces, brothers and sisters are in need, is she allowed to help them from her wealth, and would that be considered as a charity? Does she have to get a permission, previous permission from her husband as how to dispense her wealth? She doesn't have to get a permission. And if he knew, he shouldn't get upset. He should rather encourage her. And he doesn't have the right to prevent her, because this is her position. He has no say in it. Unless if he sees something haram, that she is wasting this money in spending on something which is not permissible. That's different. But if she is doing something lawful or giving it in a charity, a part of it, all of it, that's her wealth. She has a complete ownership and a full control over her wealth. If the husband objected, his objection is rejected and it is not honored according to the Sharia. Why is that? Number one, we have some ahadith collected by Imam Bukhari and Muslim. For instance, al-Mu'mineen, Maymunah bint Harith, may Allah be pleased with her, one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, once set free one of her female servants. As you know that in the past there used to be slaves, and Islam came encouraging the believers to set free the slaves. So she did set free one of her slave girls. And the Prophet ﷺ did not know about it at all. Then when the Prophet ﷺ came to her house, she said, Ya Rasulullah, أشعرت أني أعتقت جاريتي? Did you feel that we don't have so and so anymore? I set her free. The Prophet ﷺ never objected to that. So she did whatever she did before even informing her husband. Who was the husband? Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Since he did not object, since he did not say, why didn't you tell me first? He didn't take my permission. That means she has a full control over her position. She can do whatever she wants as long as it is something legal and permissible. Also, in the long hadith when Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhuma narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave khutbatul Eid, the Eid sermon. It was Eidul Fitri after Ramadan. And then when he finished, he descended from the minbar and he approached women and he gave them a speech. And he encouraged them to give in a charity from huliyihin, from whatever they possess, from their jewelry, from their ornaments. Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anh, or Bilal ibn Rabah, may Allah be pleased with him, spread his garment and they started throwing their donations, taking some of their qurut, their earrings, their bracelets, their anklets, their chains, and gold and silver, and they dropped them before the Prophet ﷺ to be given in a charity. None of them had a chance to go back to ask her husband, I'm going to give away my earrings or my necklace or any amount of gold or silver. Rather, they responded to the encouragement of the Prophet ﷺ of giving in a charity immediately without going back to their husbands. Nor did the Prophet ﷺ order them to seek their husband's permission first. So this is a very solid proof, along with the previous hadith of Maymunah bint Harith radiyallahu anha, that the person, whether she's a wife or otherwise, she has a full control over her position, including the dowry which she collected from her husband, and she can dispense it in giving it in a charity. Whether sometimes the family members are in need, and sometimes she's doing this out of silah, to uphold the ties of kinship. So she buys them gifts, she takes them nice stuff. That's her money. You do not object to that, and you don't have any problem with this. Having said so, we also suggest that a woman who's living with her husband under the same roof, before making a major changes and a major investment or a major donation, she should, and this is recommended, it's not a must, consult her husband. What do you think of this? Maybe he has a different view, a smarter opinion, which you may applaud. It doesn't mean that he has any control or he can prevent or stop you or put any pressure on you not to give your family members. But it is recommended, since you're living under the same roof. Normally the person would consult his colleague, his co-worker, his classmate. What about a husband and wife? In order to strengthen the tie, the bond between the couple, and not to create any hurt feeling afterward, like, you should have even let me know. I would never object, but at least let me know this is what you're going to do. And by the way, before we finish this segment, with regards to the dowry, sometimes the dowry is either paid entirely upfront, and sometimes there is a deferred amount. This deferred amount, brothers and sisters, is a credit, is a debt the husband owes to his wife. Some people think it is due only in case that I divorce her. This is not true, because the dowry, once we agree to a certain amount, even if we divide it into an upfront amount and a deferred amount, is due once we get married, and it's a debt that you owe to your wife. It's a debt that you owe to your wife. So once you're capable financially, you should pay off the debt to the creditor, who in this case is your wife. In case that, God forbid, the husband dies and he left some money, before we divide the inheritance, we have to take out the debt, the qard, the dain. Because Allah the Almighty said, مِن بَعْدِ وَصِيَّةٍ تُوصُونَ بِهَا أَوْ دَيْنٍ. So before we divide the inheritance, we have to settle any loans or debts. Then we have to pay off the wasiyah and fulfill it. One of the creditors is the wife. He owed his wife some of the dowry, or maybe the whole thing, because at the time he didn't have any. So she will be given her loan, the rest of the dowry. And afterward, she will get her share of the inheritance. If she didn't have any children, she would have a certain share. If they have children, she will get 1/8. If she didn't, she will get 1/4 of the inheritance. Then afterward, we pay off the wasiyah before. So the debt, then the wasiyah, then dividing the inheritance. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's take a short break and we'll be back inshallah in a few minutes. Please stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. The first question we have in this segment is from somebody who says that I have a friend who is very good. He prays, he fasts, but unfortunately he drinks alcohol. I heard that Allah does not accept the prayer of a person who drinks alcohol. So what is the benefit of praying or fasting? He is also very regular in fasting during Ramadan. He does not miss a single day. I don't know how to approach him and what to tell him. First of all, we would like to learn what is the hukm, the ruling for drinking any intoxicant, whether in the form of liquid, alcohol, wine, beer, any intoxicant, or taking any intoxicant in the form of drugs, okay, or injection or inhalation. This is all forbidden, because it is given the description of al-khamr. Wal-khamru ma khamar al-aql. Al-khamr is any substance which puts a veil on the brain so that the person will be absent-minded. So now wine, alcohol, beer, drugs, opium, tablets, injection, it puts a veil, it makes a person absent-minded, in another world and hallucinating. This is all forbidden. What is the proof? Surah Al-Ma'idah chapter number 5, verse number 90. Allah the Almighty addressed the believers in the final verse of issuing the verdict concerning drinking by saying, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون. Allah the Almighty is calling upon the believers, O who you believe. Indeed, intoxicants, all forms of intoxicant, and games of chance, and sacrificing to the stone set up by the non-believers as idols, and dividing by errors are only the filth and the filthy work of Satan. رِجِسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ, of the evil, filthy work of Satan. So how should you deal with it? فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. You should avoid it in order to be successful. This is the meaning of ayah number 90 of Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter number 5. In the other sound hadith, which is collected by both Imam Bukhari and Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن ولا يسرق السارق حين يسرق وهو مؤمن ولا يشرب الخمر حين يشربها وهو مؤمن. This is a very important hadith. Whenever a Muslim indulges into some of the major sins, then during this time his iman is very low. He could be even without iman. He's a Muslim, but his iman is so weak to the point that it allowed him to indulge into a major sin. So whether drinking, stealing, committing theft, or committing an act of adultery. And this is a sign of very weak iman, even if the person is praying, because in this case his prayer is just observing the rituals without benefiting out of the prayer. Allah the Almighty says, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. The prayer forbids a person, hinders a person, prevents a person from indulging into evil and sins, into illicit activities. Surah Al-Ankabut, verse number 45. So if the person is praying and he is not benefiting out of that, then the prayer is simply some form of rituals or physical exercise. There is a very frightening hadith. The Prophet ﷺ says in it, it's a sound hadith, again collected by Imam Bukhari and Muslim, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that Rasulullah ﷺ said, من شرب الخمر في الدنيا ثم لم يتب منها حرمها في الآخرة. This is very dangerous. A person who happens to drink in this dunya, to drink wine or any intoxicant, and he dies without making tawbah, he will be deprived from drinking that in the hereafter. And you know what? If a person makes it to heaven, there is no forbidding items. Everything is permissible. Allah the Almighty says, لَهُمْ مَا يَشَاءُونَ فِيهَا وَلَدَيْنَا مَزِيدٌ. In it they shall get whatever they want, whatever they desire, and we even have more. We have extra for them. And in the ayah, Allah the Almighty have mentioned that there will be in heaven rivers, rivers of milk, rivers of purified water, rivers of wine, وَأَنْهَارٍ مِّنْ خَمْرٍ لَذَّةٍ لِلشَّارِبِينَ. So that means a person will not get an access to enter paradise in order to drink from that. Why? Because he used to drink wine in the dunya and he died in this condition without repenting. Add to that, the person will be cursed by Allah the Almighty. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have warned those who drink or those who serve the drink or those who sell it to those who drink. He said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْخَمْرَ وَشَارِبَهَا وَسَاقِيهَا وَبَائِعَهَا وَمُبْتَاعَهَا وَعَاصِرَهَا وَمُعْتَصِرَهَا وَحَامِلَهَا وَالْمَحْمُولَةَ إِلَيْهِ. This is very dangerous. How many people were cursed concerning alcohol? 9. Not only the person who drinks, not only the alcoholic person, but also the ba'i', the seller, our brothers, Muslim brothers who have convenience stores in the West, and they sell beer and they sell alcohol, they sell lotto ticket. This is not permissible. Even if you don't drink it yourself, I know your argument. Some people say that I don't taste it, I just sell it to the non-Muslims. That is not permissible. إِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا حَرَّمَ شَيْئًا حَرَّمَ ثَمَنَهُ. Whenever Allah forbids anything, its consumption, then also its price is forbidden. Its indulgence, then its price is forbidden. So He forbids illicit relationship, then prostitution, and the money which comes out of that is forbidden. renting a room if you own or you run a motel to people whom you know that they are doing this is not permissible. You don't say it's none of my business. Whatever goes behind closed doors is none of my business. No, you know that you're renting the room per hour for this reason. So the earning is haram in addition to being a part of the sin. Selling alcohol to Muslims or non-Muslims, practicing or non-practicing, is a major sin. The person who grows the grapes and he knows that the company, Budweiser or whatever company, would buy the crops from me in order to squeeze it and make wine out of it. And they pay me very well. They pay me double than if I sell it to the shopping centers and the food shops. Well, guess what? There will not be any barakah in this business. And you're growing the grapes in order to be squeezed, to be made into wine or alcohol. You are a partner like the person who drinks, like the person who sells it, like the person who carries it, like the waiter who serves it. All of them, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, la'an. What is the word la'an means? Al-la'an is to be expelled from Allah's mercy. May Allah have mercy upon us. Who can afford that? And that's why the hadith, I said earlier, it's very scary that those who drink alcohol in the life of this dunya and they die without repenting, they will not get to drink it in the hereafter. With regards to the relationship between drinking and the prayer, there is a hadith. The hadith is judged as a sound hadith by Imam Albani, may Allah have mercy on him. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا يشرب الخمر رجل من أمتي فيقبل الله منه صلاة 40 يوما. Okay, and again, before I say the meaning of this hadith, it is broadly misunderstood. He said, peace be upon him, that if any one of my ummah were to drink khamr, alcohol, Allah will not accept his prayer for 40 days. What is the purpose of this hadith? It is to ward you off from drinking, to make you not think about it. Not to say, I drank, so there is no point of praying. Let me not pray for the next 40 days. Nope, it doesn't mean that. Because not praying is even a worse sin, and it is more major than drinking. It is the worst of sins because it is next to shirk. And if the person insists on not praying, then it becomes an act of disbelief. الصلاة عمود الإسلام فمن تركها فقد كفر. It is the main pillar, the main pole of the deen, and whoever abandons the prayer has indeed disbelieved in Allah. He have chosen not to become a Muslim. So how do you compromise? How do you understand the hadith? What does it mean? It means that you still have to pray. It is obligatory. You have to fast. You have to pray. Yet the reward for the prayer of 40 days for a person who happened to drink alcohol will not be granted to him, will be blocked, unless if the person repents, unless if the person seeks forgiveness and makes a covenant with Allah the Almighty. He will never drink again. So pay attention to that. And the ayah says what? فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. You must avoid it. Stay away from it in order to be successful. Those who drink, they will never be successful, neither in this life nor in the hereafter. My dear brothers and sisters, how often do you read and see and watch programs, or if you attend classes, the defensive classes, or in order to get license, driver's license, or the insurance company keep informing us that the first leading cause of death, like in America and in the West, is drinking and driving. Drinking and driving. Why? Because when you're drunk, when the person is drunk, he's absent-minded. The beauty of mankind and the quality of al-insan is given this intellect, is given this aql, in order to ponder, in order to reflect, in order to think, in order to make the best judgment. But if the person paralyzes this intellect, puts it to sleep, so he's walking in the street, but he's absent-minded. He is talking, but he doesn't know what he's talking. He may end up divorcing his wife. He may end up cursing people. He may end up praying against himself. He is liable. He is responsible because he chose to give his mind a vacation. to veil his mind. That's why it's called khamr. So be very careful. May Allah the Almighty guide us what is best. The following question is it permissible to divide my wealth amongst my sons and daughters before death, and they will get to receive it after my death? And how shall I do that? That's a very good question. The Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith, ما حق امرئ مسلم له شيء يوصي فيه يبيت ليلتين إلا ووصيته مكتوبة عنده تحت رأسه. I try my best to quote the reference, whether the ayah or the hadith, in the original text, so that we study it together and we learn. ما حق امرئ مسلم يبيت ليلتين له شيء يوصي فيه إلا ووصيته مكتوبة عنده تحت رأسه. If a believer happened to be granted some wealth, then he's not supposed to delay writing his wasiyah, his bequest or will, not even for 2 nights. He rather should have his wasiyah ready under his pillow in the safe with the lawyer, with trustworthy person or persons. This is my wasiyah. Wasiyah does not only entail and cover how to dispense my wealth after my death. The wasiyah also must include reminding your heirs, your inheritors, of being God-fearing, of keeping your duty to Allah, of how to handle your body, your deceased after your death, where you want to be buried, who should lead the funeral prayer, things of this nature. Asking your children and your loved ones to make lots of istighfar for you. Perhaps you want to give in a charity after your death, to build a masjid, or to donate some money to an orphanage, to a hospital, to a school, or to any person, provided he is not amongst the heirs. Why not? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, لا وصية لوارث. It is not valid to write an extra share as a bequest to be given to one of the heirs. Yeah, but my son supported me a lot. My daughter is still too young and she wants to get married, so I would write a wasiyah to give her extra. In your life you can give. We'll talk about also being just in distributing your wealth in your life. But after death, the wasiyah must not violate what Allah and His Messenger ﷺ have ordained concerning dividing the inheritance. لا وصية لوارث. No heir would receive anything extra than what Allah the Almighty have ordained for him, even if the dead person have stipulated that, please give my eldest son 15% extra. Void. It will not be honored. Also, the Prophet ﷺ ordered that the wasiyah should not exceed 1/3 of the inheritance. So somebody says, please 50% of all what I leave should be given to this person or to this orphanage. We gotta go back to the heirs. When your dad says so, what do you think? No. Okay, we'll go back to the maximum, the threshold, which is 1/3. And the rest will be distributed amongst the heirs. So if the person does in his life distribute the inheritance according to what Allah the Almighty has decided, and the ayat are very clear in Surah An-Nisa in this regard, that's fine. He can actually hand over the shares to those who will be his heirs after he dies in his life. And he can say that should be divided according to the inheritance law, what Allah the Almighty is pleased with after my death. Sometimes a person like to sort out some, maybe there is a building, it's hard to divide it, so you would say that you guys have to live in it together. This flat is for this person and this flat. It is better also to inform them during their lives, provided he would not give somebody a share which is not ordained for him by Allah, or extra, because that would lead to breaking the ties between the brothers and sisters. Rather, we should comply with the guidance of Allah Almighty in this regard. As I mentioned, check out the ayat of Surah An-Nisa. Now we're going to take a short break, and inshallah we'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. The first question in the third segment is concerning الرجعة. What is the meaning of عدة and رجعة, and how much time a woman has to wait before she's able to get married after she's been divorced? Well, these two terms are related to each other. عدة means number of days, number of weeks, number of months, certain number of time, certain time. So the عدة is the period of time that a woman must wait after she is divorced before she will be able to accept marriage proposals, let alone getting married. Okay? In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah the Almighty explained one thing. He said, الطلاق مرتان. A husband may divorce his wife twice. After the first time and after the second time, he has the right to take back his word and keep his wife in the marriage relationship without the need for a new marriage contract, dowry, the consent of the guardian, or even the consent of the wife whom you divorced. That is only within الطلاق مرتان, the first and the second time. That's why it is called طلاق رجعي, revocable. So I revoke my word. A person who said to his wife for the first time, أنت طالق, you're divorced. Allah the Almighty guided them as how to deal with their wives whom they divorced. He revealed the whole chapter of the Quran. It's called Surah At-Talaq, the divorce chapter. In the first ayah of this chapter, Allah the Almighty says, in regulating the process of separation and divorce in a way that it secures all the rights of the wife after she's divorced, whether it is a temporary divorce, revocable divorce, or a permanent one. Look what Allah the Almighty says. He addresses the believers, reminding them of their faith. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وتلك حدود الله ومن يتعد حدود الله فقد ظلم نفسه. Now, by the end, Allah the Almighty says, لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا. It's a very interesting verse. Every couple must study the verses of marriage and marriage counseling in Surah An-Nisa, solving problems, and even divorce also in Surah An-Nisa and in Surah At-Talaq. So Allah the Almighty says, O Prophet, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you divorce women, divorce them for their prescribed time. لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ, plural of عِدَّة, the prescribed time, the waiting period. What is the waiting period? Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 228, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. Mutallaqat is plural of mutallaqa, a woman who's been divorced. Women who have been divorced should wait, يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ, should wait for 3 quru'. 3 quru' means, the word quru' is plural and its singular is qur'. And this is an ambiguous word. In the Arabic dictionary, qur' means al-hayd, which means the menses, the period a woman experiences every month. And it also means the tuhr, the period which follows the menses. But in the Quran, mainly the word qur' is referring to the period, which means if a woman is divorced, she must wait for 3 periods, 3 menstruations. During this period, she is not allowed to leave her house. Look what Allah the Almighty said in Surah Al-Talaq, the first verse I just quoted. اتقوا الله ربكم, oh you believe, fear Allah your Lord. لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن, do not drive them out of their houses. Somebody would say, it's my house. Yeah, but she's living with you in it. I divorced her. Now it was the first time or the second time. That's called طلاق الرجعي. Let her stay. Even if she wants to leave the house, I'm going to live with my parents. ولا يخرجن. It's not permissible. Neither it is permissible for you to ask them to leave or force them to leave or for them to decide to leave. Allah the Almighty wants to give you an opportunity to reconcile. For how long? 3 periods. 3 periods. So if a woman experiences the menstruation once, twice, third time, and it's over, and now she's in a state of tahara, then this man would not simply be able to say, well, I take you back to my marriage life. No, sir. But it was the first divorce and I regret. Okay, you want to marry her again, propose to her guardian, get his consent, her consent, process a new marriage contract, and pay a new dowry. We'll start the process from the scratch. That is after the first and the second divorce, only 2 times. And the same process, in the same waiting time period, which is 3 quru. Somebody may say, what about a woman who does not experience the menses for a reason or another? Maybe, some women at the age of 35, they reach their menopause, so there is no period. In this case, Allah the Almighty also answered this question in Surah At-Talaq, but in the 4th verse of Surah At-Talaq, the divorce chapter. He says, وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَ مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِن نِّسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ 3 أَشْهُرٍ وَاللَّائِي لَمْ يَحِضْنَ. In case a woman have reached the menopause or doesn't experience a period, then the waiting period, the iddah for them will be 3 months. We go by the lunar calendar. So she have experienced 3 months. In this case, we say it is over. He doesn't have the right to take her back, and she would go back to her family and live with them. What if the divorce was the second time? Then whatever happened in the first time will happen in the second time. What if he divorced her for the 3rd time? In this case, the name of talaq or divorce will be different, and obviously the ahkam will be different. It will be called talaqun ba'in. It's over. This divorce will be irrevocable. He cannot change his mind. Even if they both love each other so much, they want to go back to live with each other, we say, too bad. فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا, if he happened to divorce her the 3rd time, فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرًا. It is not permissible for her to go back to him. It is not permissible for him to take her back as a wife, not before she marries somebody else with a new marriage contract, and a marriage in order to last, not to fake it. Then if the new person didn't come in agreement with his new spouse, and he divorced her, and after the iddah of course is over, and he did not show any interest in going back, then her ex-husband can propose to her. But Allah the Almighty put those rules and regulations in order to secure the right of the woman. الطلاق مرتان, only 2 times where it is revocable. The 3rd time, you're out of chances, and she is on her own. But it doesn't mean that after the 3rd divorce she can go next day and marry anybody else. No, sir. She also have to wait for the period, the same period. If she's a woman who normally experiences the menses, 3 consecutive menses. And if she doesn't, maybe she has her menopause already, then we're talking about 3 months. After that, she can get married as much as whenever she wants, and if she marries to the right person with the consent of her guardian, it's a new marriage process that she starts from the scratch. Another thing I would like to share with you, that sometimes the iddah, which I have mentioned earlier, whether it is the menses or if she doesn't have the period, then the 3 months, all of that will change simply if the woman is pregnant. وَأُولَاتُ الْأَحْمَالِ أَجَلُهُنَّ أَنْ يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. Women who are pregnant, their iddah is not 3 months, nor is it 3 periods. Rather, their iddah is given birth. So, if he divorced her today, and then she ran into a pregnancy test, and it is positive, oh my God, I'm pregnant. The iddah now is until she gives birth, which could be 9 months. What if she was pregnant already at the time when he divorced her, and she was 9 months pregnant? So next day, soon after he divorced her, she delivered, or she happened to have miscarriage. In this case, the iddah is over. If it was after the first or the second divorce and they both want to reconcile, sir, we have to start from the scratch. Proposal, marriage contract, consent of the guardian and the bride, and the dowry, of course. I hope you brothers and sisters comprehended the meaning of talaq, and it is not simply an easy process to tell your wife, get out, go to your family, or play around with divorce, keep saying, you're divorced, you're divorced, you're divorced. And similarly, women who keep bugging their husbands for any little conflict or any dispute, she keeps demanding, if you're a man, divorce me. Because if he divorces you once and twice, it's over. You come back and you say, but I have 5 kids, and we've been living together for a while. I don't have a job. What am I supposed to do? It is your fault in the first place. People, before getting married, they must learn about the ahkam of marriage and how to choose your life mate. Before sorting out a dispute, they must learn what does Allah the Almighty say in this regard in Surah An-Nisa, whether it is his fault or her fault, before taking the problem out and going to a counselor, a marriage counselor. Then thirdly, in case of divorce, before uttering the word, study the ahkam of divorce and the pros and cons. This is very important, brothers and sisters. The following question is concerning the rights of the woman whom her husband divorced her before consummating the marriage. That's a very important question, and I would like to say that as a matter of fact, there are 2 conditions for divorce. The first is after the marriage contract and before consummating the marriage. And the second is after consummating the marriage. What difference does it make? It makes all the difference. Number 1, if the couple have already processed a marriage contract, so they're already married, but they did not move in together, nor did they stay together behind closed doors in a place where a husband and wife can have an intimate relationship, which is known as al-khalwa. Then they came to a disagreement. I'm glad that I came to figure out that you are like that or you are like that. I want to divorce. We divorce her. In this case, the obligation will be limited to that she will get half the dowry. She will get half the dowry. If they have agreed to a dowry, 50 grams, so she will get 25. Why? Because the divorce took place before consummating the marriage. What if they moved in and they closed the door behind themselves, even for one night, and they got divorced? He didn't like her. She asked him for divorce. He gave her divorce. Then the whole dowry is hers. The whole dowry is hers. He doesn't have any right to ask for his dowry back. Unless if there was some deception, like he figured out that she has some disease, she is not able to have an intimate relationship, or she is not like what she explained. She said that she is virgin and she is not. She's previously married. So she lied to him. That's a different case. He has the right to collect all the dowry. So in ordinary conditions, if the divorce happened before consummating the marriage, she keeps half the dowry and she must give him the rest of it. In case that the divorce happened after consummating the marriage or after they happen to have khalwatun shar'iyya, they have been together behind closed doors, even if they did not actually happen to have sexual activities, she still gets the full dowry and he would not take anything of it. Even if there is a deferred amount, he owes this amount. The following question is in the same line, which is, what if they got married, they both were carried away, and they never mentioned any amount of the dowry? They did not talk about how much is the dowry. They know that there is a dowry, but they did not talk about it. The girl and her family said, it's up to you, pay whatever you want to pay, or they did not name a dowry. In this case, if there is a difference of opinion and the bride and her family are demanding for the dowry, how much will be the dowry? The dowry will be similar to a woman of her age, of her family status, of her beauty and education. Let's say that her cousin, paternal or maternal, almost at the same age, got married, or his sister, who have almost the same qualities. She got married. How much did you pay? 10,000. Okay, then you owe her 10,000. But they never made mention of any dowry. We never talked about it. We said before, Allah the Almighty said in Surah An-Nisa, وَآتُوا النِّسَاءَ صَدُقَاتِهِنَّ نِحْلَةً. That is the right of the woman upon getting married to collect the dowry. And it becomes entirely hers. So neither the husband nor her own father have any right to put any pressure on her to get a share of this dowry. The following question is actually concerning, can you give me an example of a continuous charity? There are many examples. If you spend money in an orphanage, as long as the orphanage is there and providing service to the orphans, it's a continuous charity. Buying Quran and distributing, as long as people are reading the Quran, it's a continuous charity. A hospital, a school, a masjid. So as long as people are benefiting out of that, it is a continuous charity. Digging a water well, putting a water fountain. So long as people are drinking out of this water and benefiting out of it, it is a continuous charity, even if the person passes away. May Allah the Almighty guide us to what is best, brothers and sisters. By that we've come to the end of today's edition of your program Fatawa. May Allah accept from all of us. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.